Welcome back, everybody. You're watching Sports Federation TV, and for those of you that have just joined us, you'll of course know that our Western Cape sports structures are absolutely dominating. There's been a number of national events during the school holidays. Well, so the last few weeks have again seen the medals pouring in for Western Cape. Boxing, for example, have dominated at the national championships. Softball just had their Masters championships. Currently, baseball's got their Masters championships here in Cape Town. And of course, for those of you who were watching earlier on will know that our chess kids took a number of gold medals at their recent national chess championships. But also, recently, we had a national rowing regatta. In studio, more to tell me about that is Oliver Kane-Smith and Stefan Breitenbach. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right, you're going to have to guide me here because even before this, I was trying to make sure that I understood all the terminology. We've had your president, Ken Glido, in studio with us and a number of guys from rowing. But did I get that right? It's the first 8.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're both part of the first 8 for UCT, and our most recent event was competing at University's boat race in Port Alfred. That happened about a month ago in September now.
Right. So, Stefan, tell me though, why do you call it the first 8? What does that mean?
Well, in the club we'll have more than just one crew for the men and the women.
Yeah.
So we first 8 A8. 8 is like the team name because it's a boat with 8 people.
Right.
So if you're on the top boat, you'll be called the first 8, and then we'll have our second 8, and then our third crew is mostly comprises of novices who've just joined and are doing it for the first time. And then we have that on both sides, of the men and the women.
So you guys recently had the national regatta in Port Alfred. Is this competing against other universities? Is it strictly universities?
So yes, it's basically every rowing university in the country, and it's amazing to see that that space is growing extremely fast, especially from the Western Cape as well. I mean, this year we had the likes of UWC and Stellenbosch doing exceptionally well as ourselves, which is amazing to see from a Western Cape perspective.
Well, you didn't really elaborate too much on that. You guys took the first place, right? So UCT walks away as the national champions.
On the men's side, yes.
On the men's side?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're very chuffed with that.
Yeah.
We won last year as well for the first time in 22 years, and that was extremely special and very memorable. So it's amazing to be able to replicate that and do it again, make it stick.
For the first time in 22 years, I would have thought, I suppose a lot of people would have thought UCT were the national champions. What made the turnaround? How did you turn around 22 years of history into becoming the title holders?
I think just a little bit of everything coming together. The year before, actually, 2022, people always talk about last year being the training year.
Yeah.
I always talk about the year before, 2022, we actually had a new coach who completely different to any other South African rowing coaches you would have seen. She's from the Netherlands, Evelyn. And she, gave us a different approach to everything. And we were very close to actually winning then. We won by
in 2022.
We lost by a smaller margin, and we've won these last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then just coming into the next 2 years, we just had just enough to then get it. And we've kind of just been doing the same thing from then, replicating what's worked. And hanging on to the
How does
process.
competition day look for you guys? Is it one race, or do you compete a number of times and it's a knockout, or is it that typical Oxford, Cambridge, that's it, you've got one chance?
Yeah, so in this case, that's how it worked. But so we have 2 days of racing. We have the heats, which is where everyone races off in what we call a heads race, where everyone's one after the other, and then it's a time trial. And then based on that time trial, 2 days later, we race head-to-head, similar to Oxford, Cambridge style, against the other universities. However, that's just one regatta. Other regatta formats, you will race a hell of a lot every single day. It's up to, I think, 7 times for sprints.
Well, that's when you do multiple
classes.
boats. So boat race is just 8s, but we have 8s, pairs, 4s, and singles.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you have, because you, like you say, you've got 8s, pairs, 4s, and singles.
Yeah.
Do you guys compete in the same, I mean, do you have the same guys that are rowing in the 8s, maybe rowing in the 4s or 2s?
Of course.
Yes.
So like I mentioned with the first 8, that's kind of your team is the 8s.
Yeah, right.
And then within that, there's obviously then 2 4s, which is also, there'll be an A4. This is much more like in schools. In the universities, it's a little more mixed, but there'll be an A4 and then a B4 within that 8s. And then within those 4s, there'll be
an
A
A pair.
pair, B pair, and then they're not as
So how much
defined.
rowing, how many days is your event? How many days do you take part?
Sprints is 2 days.
2 days. A lot
2
of
days?
regattas are 2
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
National regattas are almost 2 days. Some of the shorter ones are 1 day.
And how many times will you compete in a day?
Sprints is an outlier. That's a lot. So we mentioned that there are fours, pairs, singles.
Yeah.
It gets more complicated than that. There are.
That's just the one side.
That's just the
of this.
one
Yeah.
side of the sport. There are other events. So we do what's called sweep rowing, which is where or traditional rowing, where you would row with one oar. You can also row
Just
with
the
2
one
oars.
side.
So I row
How
on
does that
my
work?
left side
So you
that
got,
way, and Steph rows on that
Yeah.
side.
all
I
right, so it's
have
not
one
one person
oar.
in a boat with one side.
No, then you're going to
But
That's why it gets limited a
Okay.
pair.
but you can basically duplicate every single
Yeah.
boat category when you have 2 oars. So that's called
Yeah.
sculling. So a
Two
single,
smaller ones.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
sculling is single sculling.
And do you have a
So-
cox on the 8
Yes.
that's on the boat with you, or
Yeah.
are they on a
Yeah.
boat on
No,
the
he's
side?
on the boat. He sits, well, for us at the front because we're going
Yeah.
backwards, but he sits at the back of the
How
boat.
important is that cox? Do
For
you
boat racing,
Very important.
extremely important.
really?
Arguably the most important
thing.
person.
Really?
So
Yeah.
It's known as the Cox's race because there's corners
Yeah.
and there's strategy, and
Yeah.
it's also like in a 2K, not to like take any credit from Cox's, in a 2K race, you can kind of just go and they'll encourage you and they'll keep the boat straight, but it's not going to like change. You're not going to make a massive turner from that.
Yeah.
Like it's important, and for training against that point is important, but at boat race, you can 100% lose and win a race with the Cox.
How do those guys just never fall off the boat?
They are,
I mean, do they ever fall off the
our
boat?
boat is not like a surfboard, it's more like,
It's more like a
imagine like,
bathtub.
yeah, imagine like a more sleek bathtub.
Okay, because on TV it looks so thin and it looks like there's only a little spot
Yeah.
for
No,
this guy.
they're pencils, these boats. They're
Yeah.
these little
Yeah,
darts
yeah.
of things. They're incredibly light as well. It's
Yeah.
an amazingly
Yeah,
specialized
96
equipment.
kilograms to
For
carry
from-
9 people.
It's
So from the
ridiculous,
Western
yeah.
Cape, you guys had a tremendous amount of success. You walk away. I believe UWC also had phenomenal result this year.
They're really, really amazing to see how well they've done. Coming from seemingly nowhere in the past 3 years, they've got their best result this year. They came 5th on the men's side.
Yeah.
And the numbers that they have and the enthusiasm is absolutely amazing.
Tell me a little bit about your training. How many times a week? I mean, you've got quite a big squad. How do you coordinate all that? How many times a week do you guys have to train? Do you have to, I mean, to win an event like this, and we've seen you guys from a high performance point of view, it's next level stuff. Do you have to worry about your sleeping and your eating and everything?
So,
Yeah.
like, as captain, this is kind of the biggest thing I'll end up doing is coordinating with the coach on our program. So, up to boat race, it gets a bit more. We'll do a few sessions a day, where there's a few days where there's multiple sessions a day. So it probably ranges from sometimes, I'd say 7 to sometimes a bit over 7 sessions a week.
Over 7 would be very extreme.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to note that we are first and foremost students. So the hierarchy and ranking of priority, I guess, in our lives, Evelyn, our coach, makes it very clear your mental
Yeah.
health comes
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Then
yeah.
it's your varsity and academic performance.
Yeah.
And then after that, okay, now let's train, let's get fast.
So sleep
And it's
is
important that we
very
make
important,
that statement here in case any of your lecturers are watching you right now.
Yes, yes, but fundamentally that has been the biggest difference
Yeah.
between Evelyn's approach to coaching
Yeah.
and maybe some other more traditional, more established coaches in this country's approach. And it's worked amazingly. And
Listen, guys, we'll leave it at that. You're the national champions, and those last few sentences that you guys just phrased really shows us that you're true sports people and true sports leaders. You're winning on the water, but you're also giving back, and you're helping the kids come through the ranks. So from the world of sport, we say thanks to you guys and congratulations. And we know that with guys like yourselves that are involved in sport, we can only get stronger and stronger in the province.
Yeah,
brilliant, thank you.
thank you.
Right, there we go, folks. Oliver Kane-Smith and Stefan Breitenbach, of course, leading the way. This is what we expect from our athletes in South Africa. Champions on the field, champions on the water, champions on the court, and bringing new champions through the ranks and giving back to sport. Get involved in Western Cape rowing, folks. Find yourself a boat or a club somewhere. We'll talk more about sport when we come back after the break. Don't go away.